Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to the NS9 post-game show powered by Permani Brothers. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With us, we have the Dougie Fresh. Doug, Pirates lose 2-1 to the Cubs. How are you doing, though?
Oh, I'm fine. Nothing too dramatic, nothing to get my, blood pressure elevated. Just watch the Pirates, look like they're standing up there with toothpicks, just wailing away. No idea what to do. So, I've seen this movie again and again and again and again, so it doesn't get me too worked up.
It's one of those things, too, is like, the movies that get remade over and over and over again. A lot of times they have critics that, this is not like the original. This is way worse. The one thing you say of the Pirates is the reruns are the same. They're no worse or better.
No better or no worse. It's exactly the same. We come on here and we have to sort of highlight where, the Burrows, they gave up a run. Like we have to talk about the pitcher giving up a run. Like that was the issue. That was the problem in the game today.
Right.
So because there is nothing to talk about on the offensive side.
Not really. Not really.
Yeah, we're not. No, we cannot talk. Listen, I'm the resident old guy on this program, and we will not celebrate non-historic home runs. All Andrew McCutchen did is have one more home run today than he did yesterday. I don't even know why we're bringing it up. You millennials, I tell you, we've had one thing worth celebrating in the past 40 years, and we're not allowed to enjoy him, because, Hank Aaron said it best after he hit 715. Hey, it's just one more than I had yesterday. I mean, fuck Babe Ruth. Excuse me. Sorry.
Doug is on one. I love it. I love it.
Oh God, you can't celebrate Cutch. Come on. I mean, come on. Stop it. Stop it already. Anyway, so
that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, I guess again, if you want to talk about the offense, there's one thing we can talk about. Cutch hit a home run. He had 2 hits today. Wasn't the only one. Nick Gonzalez also had 2 hits. So there was 2 guys, multi-hits. Pirates had 5 in total. 5 hits in total. Brian Hayes actually with the other hit. But 6 strikeouts. I'll say this, like you talked about, they had toothpicks up. At least the toothpicks were making some contact. It wasn't great contact, but only 6 strikeouts today. There's some improvement. There's something. But yeah, like the offense, it is what it is. It's just not a good offense. There's not a lot of guys that can do a lot of damage outside of O'Neill Cruz and Andrew McCutchen at this point in time. And O'Neill Cruz really isn't doing that right now. I mean, O'Neill Cruz has been struggling for a bit of time at this point.
Yeah.
And especially versus lefties, which today Boyd was up to pitch. He's had a tremendous year. I know I looked at that signing in the offseason and said, Cubs, I don't know about this one. And hey, he's proven a lot of people wrong.
Sometimes I think, he got into a good situation, right? He can just pitch. They score 6 runs a game. He knows he doesn't have to be perfect. So I think he's just out there kind of letting it fly. You're right. It didn't look like the greatest move, but when you put people in positions to succeed, hey, we're asking you to be our 5th starter and just kind of hold it down a little bit. That's manageable. We're asking rookies to come up and pitch like Greg Maddux, because if they don't stand a chance at a decision, let alone a win.
Right.
So
100%, man. 100%. So Boyd takes the mound today. He stifled the offense, the Pirates offense. For the most part, Andrew McCutchen again did hit the home run. The Pirates took a 1-0 lead early. So, there was some hope. But I think, again, like the real story is, like you mentioned, with Michael Burrows. And I'll tell you, before we do talk about Michael Burrows, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With baseball season in full swing, we're deep into NBA and NHL finals. And BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on MLB, UFC, and boxing, to tennis and NFL futures. BetOnline remains the world's the best online source for your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas style games, including poker and the live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So yeah, Doug, again, the talk today really is Mike Burrows. He comes up, he's part of that pitching depth that we mentioned early on in the season. The one thing we talked about with the depth is it's not just depth. Like, it's not as the Pirates just have a plethora of guys who can start. It looks and appears as if it's kind of like a plethora of guys who can start and be good starters. And, Mike Burrows came up and it wasn't that effective the first two, but he's strung along a couple of good starts today. The Cubs offense, one of the better offenses in baseball. He comes out 5.1, 1 earned, 5 hits, 0 walks, 8 strikeouts. Doug, that's a good performance.
Yeah, that outstanding, right? And he did not come up with the hype. He suffered the Tommy John. He was coming with some hype, and we were pretty excited. And I think he may even did he break into the top 100? But he was one of our
I
better
don't think he
prospects.
did.
And then he got he had Tommy John, and we completely just wrote him off and forgot about him. And he came back last year. He put the work in. And this year, real solid. And he did not come with the hype, obviously, of Paul Skeens, but not with the hype of Jared Jones or, with the hype that will come with Bubba Chandler. I think a lot of us have already slotted him into the bullpen. Like, okay, he'll get a couple starts and we'll see. And then when Bubba comes, tomorrow, but he's showing he can pitch. Again, he's doing all that stuff you want. He's throwing strikes. He's keeping the ball in the park. He's not walking guys. He's not doing stuff to beat himself. He's very effective. I think today, I know in the minor leagues, I heard them say that he had never pitched into the 6th inning this year, not never, but they've been very delicate with him, and it was only 1/3, but they let him pitch into the 6th today. And 8 strikeouts, no walks. I don't know what else you're asking for. I mean, that's we'll take that from anybody. He's pitching as well as he, like you said, he scuffled a little there in the beginning. I imagine part of that was nerves. Part of that's just making some of the adjustments. Again, most people don't come up here and look like Paul Skeens because they didn't come from Mount Olympus. I think he came from Texas or something.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very encouraging sign. And I every time I get encouraged, I'm like, God, if we could just hit, if we could score 3 runs, we're not even asking for the magic number of 4. If we could just score 3 runs,
Yeah.
we could have 10 to 15 more wins, on this season. It's unbelievable. So yeah, but yeah, he's the story of the day. Bodes well for the future. And no reason to rust Bubba. Make sure Bubba's keeping his walks down and working on his control, that sort of thing. I imagine there'll be some openings around the trade deadline, for rotation spot, that sort of thing. So, but I hope that they keep him, if he, obviously if he continues to pitch like he is, and he just stays in the rotation all year, and we can go from there. There's just no reason, to tamper with him in any way. Just let him do what he's doing.
For sure. For sure. You bring up a good point. I'll elaborate on that, but absolutely. Bubba Chandler is a hell of a talent. And I know he struggled recently, but he's a hell of a talent. And I think he deserves to be on a major league roster. With that said, for who right now? Again, like I mentioned this a few NS9 lives ago, I believe, where it's like, it's going to be Michael Burrows. That's the guy that you're looking at, right? And Michael Burrows knows that. And he's pitching lights out right now. So, he's making a good case of saying like, well, Bubba Chandler, you're not pitching that effective, but the same sense, you're not taking my spot.
Okay.
So, you can say like, there's really no reason to bring him up. And again, a lot of that is credit to Mike Burrows right now. And he pitches another gem today. So I want to add something here. The Cubs, 3rd best offense in baseball, 9th best walk rate, 6th best strikeout rate. This is a team that is a good offense, but they also don't strike out. Because there's offenses that can, put up the long ball, but they still strike out as such.
They still strike
the
out.
Cubs,
You can get to
the
them.
Cubs are top 10, like in every statistical category, more or less. They hit for average, they walk, they don't strike out. They're just a really, really good team. And when they get on base, they steal bases, as we saw a bit today. But what I'm saying with that is Mike Burrows had 8 strikeouts in 5.1 innings. He made this team, which is a really good offensive team, look silly. This
Right.
is something, if Paul Skeens did this start today, you would say, well, that's Paul Skeens. This is Mike Burrows. This is a
Absolutely.
really, really good Cubs team, and he struck him out. He had that changeup going. He had everything going, really, but especially that changeup today. 10 swing and misses on it. The Cubs swung at it 14 times. They missed it 10 times. He had
All right.
16 whiffs for the entire day, a 36% whiff rate. Mike Burrows looked good.
Yeah, he looked really, really good. And after the end of each inning when he's walking off the mound, you could just tell the dude had swagger. At one point they were booing, maybe it was the third strike call, and he's like
Yes.
boo, boo. I mean, he was feeling it, right? And you love to see, you want that kind of confidence from a starting pitcher. You want him like, hey, it's kind of the old Paul Skeens. Oh, you're going to adjust? Good luck, right? That
Right.
kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, it was just outstanding. It is just so remarkable how this team has been able to develop this pitching and just be so incompetent on the other side. Again, it's just a great outing. The way the Cubs scored their first run was a little piratey, right?
I was going to just mention that. Yeah, go ahead.
Nick Gonzalez
Talk to us
doesn't.
about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, Nick Gonzalez loses a ball in the sun. Could have been an out. Henry drops the ball while trying to throw to second base. Runner, gets the steal. Then they move him over, with a nice, at bat the other way to third, and then sacrifice fly. I mean, none of that is on Michael Burrows. I mean, I think that's probably considered an earned run. Yeah, but it wasn't. He did not earn that run. That was it's the stuff that happens in baseball. You lose the ball and all that sort of stuff happens. But I mean, he was lights out today, and obviously, yeah, I can hardly wait to see it. I'm looking forward to his next outing. Right? It's like, wow,
Yeah,
this is fun. I want to see. And again, like you said, it was against the Cubs. It wasn't against the Marlins. It wasn't against the Rockies. It was a team that averages 6 runs a game. It was in a hitter friendly park. Um, they're good. Like you said, they walk a lot. They don't strike out as much as other teams. It's how they wore out Skeens the other day, making contact, making him throw pitches, that
that's a
sort of
good
thing.
point.
Right. I mean, that was, we got 5 innings out of Skeens because of how good the Cubs at bats were, and it's what they do. And Burrows just mowed him down, like it didn't matter. So really, really pleased with his outing. Really happy for him. It's got to be tough to be so close to your dream and then have the Tommy John, and then sort of, like you said, you sort of get forgotten, you get overlooked, and the new sexy names come along, and he's kind of planting his flag, saying, "Hey, remember me?" you know.
Yep. Yep. No, it's a very good point. And like you said, Skeens and Burrows didn't make it out of the sixth, but for different reasons. I mean, Burrows, I think, had 81 pitches today.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
81 pitches. And again,
yeah.
it's more due, like you've mentioned, Doug. He returned from the injury last year. I'm sure they're watching him a little bit more closely than others, like especially your Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens, go, right? But Burrows doesn't typically go deep in the games. They're watching him. He was very effective, though. 81 pitches in 5.1,
Right.
So again, much different. I mean, he was out there. He looked better than Paul Skeens did. I
Yeah,
mean, say
it
what
was
he
a better
did.
outing.
And that's,
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
credit
right.
to
I mean,
Burrows.
no, we're not comparing in any way, shape, or form. Paul Skeens is
No,
a much different pitcher, that sort of thing. But he had a better outing versus Paul Skeens' last outing. He's been very dope. Since he's been up, he is not throwing a lot of pitches, and again, I don't want to. I mean, they're clearly babying him, and they're being delicate with him, just similar to how they're being with Bailey Falter. They definitely have a plan in place. I don't want to get too nitpicky about that. If these guys make it through the season and are still effective in September, we can argue maybe that it was the right way to go. So yeah, it was outstanding. I mean, after that it was Barucki and then Ashcraft. I mean, you know, uh, the future's so bright, I got to wear shades when it comes to pitching. But um, if we could score them a few runs.
Yep. And I know there's a lot of people in the comments here, and I saw it on Twitter too. Keep Burrows in. He went 5.1 because ultimately Barucki comes in. He gives up the home run to Nico Horner, or I'm sorry, Dansby Swanson, who in the dugout kind of shows something where it's like he closed his eyes and swung. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a swing and pray type of situation. I mean, it happened. He got a home run. My, you can argue that. To me, it is what it is. I understand why they don't want to go too deep with Burrows. Brucky has to do his job, and at the end of
Right.
the day, allowing 2 runs to the Cubs shouldn't do you in. You know, I mean, again, this team allowed 3 runs, 1 run, and 2 run to the Cubs. In 3 games, they've given up 6 runs to the Chicago Cubs, the 3rd best offense in baseball. That's a huge win on the pitching. So,
Right.
like,
Isn't this
my
the
thing
team that beat him
about bringing
21
in
to
Baraki
nothing?
at that point in time, what's that?
And isn't this the same team that beat him 21 to nothing? Was it last year or
Yes.
whatever?
Also, when Jim was in attendance a few years
Jim
ago.
Rosati was there. Of course he was. Of course he
Right.
was.
But again, you're giving up 6 runs. You know, you're averaging 2 runs to the Cubs in 3 games. That's a huge win on the pitching. So yes, Brucky didn't do his job, but ultimately, end of the day, the pitching has done a phenomenal job. They've done their job. The offense has to do their job. And for 3 games, they simply haven't been able to do that. You know,
No,
I know
they
they won the
haven't.
1, but again, you've given up 2, 3, and 1 runs to the Cubs. Those are 3 games that you should be trying to win.
Right,
And today
right.
was
I
a very
mean,
winnable game. Brucky
this
gives up
is
a
one of
home run.
those. It could be 3-0. Could have won this series by now, right?
Right.
By scoring 3 runs in 2 different
Mhm.
games.
Yeah.
And
So again, like
that's not a
it is what it is. They went to Brucky there. I don't really have an issue with that. You know, the lefty was up, and then again, Dansby Swanson hits the homer, which he can do, and
right.
that happens. But let's talk over where it turns over to the next guy, Braxton Ashcraft. You talk about the sexy names. Braxton Ashcraft was one of those. That's why Burrows kind of gets pushed down when you're talking about the depth, right? But Burrows is still there. But Ashcraft is a guy who has all the talent in the world. Yes, he's, you know, he hasn't been able to really sustain like a full season. He's had the injuries to deal with, but his stuff is nasty. He gets the call. We're going to get you in the bullpen, be a bulk guy. Mr. Dope himself, he comes in 4 pitches
Yeah, 4
to,
pitches. Yeah.
to end an inning. And then he turns over the next inning and does phenomenal there. Two innings for him, 2 strikeouts, no hits, no walks.
He hasn't given up a hit to a left-hander yet. He's a right-handed pitcher, and I think lefties are like 0 for 11 against him. Would tell
Yeah.
me that he might be able to be a starter, right? Because that's kind of
Well,
one of the first things you look at when you look at a starter. Can he, get guys out on both sides of the plate, sort of thing. Um, it's not time for that now, but if they at some point decide, again, they make some moves or trades or whatever, decide to transition him into a starter's role, I'll be curious and interested to see it. He looks great, and I mean, I'm glad he's in the bullpen right now. That's a luxury to have out there, and now that you got him and Majinski and that sort of thing, it's again, we spent, what are we, almost 20 minutes into the show and we've only talked about pitching, you know,
well,
and I mean, there's a reason for that.
chat, do you blame us?
Yeah. um, but yeah, it's, again, like this is the kind of game we should be celebrating how well the pitching did, how they held them down, and how we scratched out a win by scoring 3 runs. But instead, um, we got a home run from McCutcheon, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah. Yep, it really is. To stay on the pitching, Doug, because I want to, because that's all it is really talk about. And again, like this team, like it really needs highlighted. What this pitching has been doing recently is outstanding, phenomenal. Everything you want to say in good light of it. Like for the past month, the starting pitching has a 2.80 ERA, and that's only going to go down after today. 3rd best in baseball. I mean, everyone's doing it. We know Paul Skeens is doing it, right? Mitch Keller's been doing it. Andrew Heaney's been doing it. Bailey Falter's been doing it. Whoever the 5th starter, which now more or less it's Burrows, has been doing it. And then think about the bullpen. The bullpen's still hovering like around 20th best in baseball, right? But it's like the guys that you want to see are doing it right now, right? There's no more
Yeah.
Tanner Rainey's, the Cal Nicholases of the world, right? The Wentzes that are gone. Like the guys that you want to see, the Dennis Santanas, the David Bednars now.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
returned, right? You get Majinski back in there. We just talked about Ashcraft. This bullpen is turning into, now I say that because again, it was about 20th, but now you're moving on from the Tanner Rainey's and adding in the Majinskis, to that side. Like this bullpen can be a force. This pitching, and again, as a whole, the pitching has been good for some time now.
Yeah.
Right
They gave
now,
up
it's a
6 hits,
true
0
weapon.
walks. 6 hits, 0 walks, 10 strikeouts today against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
It's just a great outing from your pitching staff. I mean, it's the opening paragraph in the story. Pirates pitchers only gave up 6 hits, held the Cubs to 6 hits and no walks, struck
right.
out 10, and held them just to one, 2 runs. As then the offense took care of it from there. But
Yep. And like coming into this right on, and it's not live this Thursday or Wednesday or whatever day it was. I guess Wednesday. Tyler mentioned about the Padres. He said it again. This Cub series is like a heat check. Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's certainly been a heat check for the pitching, and the pitching has won and succeeded and shown like this pitching is for real to some level. Like, is Brian Bruckey gonna? I'm sorry, Bruckey. Is Bailey Falter continue doing what he's doing? No, but again, Bailey Falter shows that he's a competent pitcher. Starting pitching depth is good. The starting pitching itself is good. You're seeing the bullpen now. It's getting much better. The pitching is really good. That's why it's such a shame. All this could have come together at some point.
right.
This stuff would have been here, and Bubba's still waiting in the wings. If this offense could just be something average or just like a little bit below average, it's the same discussion we were having last year at the deadline. If you can find a way to just be just slightly below average, this team has a chance. And I think it's just extrapolated even more this year. Jesus, 2 runs a game. They're holding the Cubs down to.
Right. I mean, this team would win a bunch of games with just scoring 3 runs, right? It's absurd, right? I mean, it's just absurd. Like this is a sort of pitching staff. We should be looking at this pitching staff and celebrate it. Like, wow, this is some of the best pitching a Pittsburgh Pirates team has ever had. The Pirates teams of past have generally been driven by the bats, the lumber company, that sort of thing.
Well, you're going
So
deep cuts here.
but I mean, even the '90s teams were Bonds
Right.
and Vince Like and Jay Bell and Jeff King and Orlando, guys that could hit. Right, we had a bunch of guys that could hit. We had some nice pitching, but we never had like a dominant closer in that time. We never, Drabek won Cy Young, but generally speaking, we didn't have the 3 best pitchers in the starting rotation of baseball, that sort of thing. Similar with the 13, 14, 15 teams. Yes, you had AJ Burnett, you had Cole, you had Liriano, but they weren't, they weren't top 3 Cy Young, right? They were really solid guys that gave you a chance to win. And then the Cutches and Pedro Alvarez's and Russell Martins and those guys. Yeah, and then the bullpen was lights out. Neil Huntington, the patron saint of bullpens. And but this team, I did forget Bobby Bonilla, Mike. Sorry about that. he was only there for the first year of the 90. I think he was gone in 91, right? It's just frustrating. We've got Paul Skeens, a generational pitcher, and then we have these other guys who are all pitching really, really well. And we have nothing to show for it. And it's not because they haven't lived up to expectations. I mean, again, you would say Heaney and Bailey Falter and Michael Burrows
they're exceeding it.
Have exceeded expectations, right? And Paul Skeens has somewhat exceeded expectations. I did not think he'd have an ERA of 1.78 at this point in the season.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
right.
And yet we can't we can't win games. We can't win games. They're delivering. The bullpen's delivering. But here we are, and we can sum up the offense today. 1 home run, first inning by Andrew McCutchen. I think 326 in his career now. Closing in on Ralph Kiner.
Yeah. Yeah, we pretty much sum up the offense by just ignoring the offense.
Yeah.
There's my life. Speaking of ignoring, so we pretty much sum it up by ignoring it, and that's what it is. Like you said, it's the same story every day. I'm kind of just tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
O'Neal Cruz has been a catalyst of the leadoff. Yes, O'Neal Cruz has been a good hitter for the majority of the season and still is. He's still well above an average hitter, but he has been struggling a lot of recent. I mean, he
Yeah.
has. The strikeouts have crept up. Today was a lefty, only one strikeout today. It is what it is, but like he has not looked good.
No.
Bring it up to Tyler a week ago, maybe on a post game. Is it maybe time to discuss about him not leading off first lefties? I think that's a true conversation you can have. He wasn't
Yeah.
ready. I'm indifferent on it, but I think it's kind of showing. I think it's a real conversation that you can have. Unfortunately, with this offense, it's not as if there's just guys waiting in the wings to take over that.
Yeah, that's the problem,
Bro.
right? Yeah, you gonna bet Reynolds lead off? Reynolds is
Well,
not.
and
This is
again,
not June
Reynolds, you're
Reynolds.
waiting for June
This
Reynolds
is
to take
not June
off.
Reynolds. Yeah, he's.
You thought it was coming at the end of the May into June, and now he's struggling
Nope.
again. Like
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know
hitting
when Brian Reynolds
200
is going to
and less
return.
than 200. Yeah, you don't know what's going on with Ryan Reynolds. I mean, really, this offensive resurgence that with the wins here lately have been IKF, Adam Frazier, Cutch. And I said this with Neil the other day. Really, what has happened is we had several guys hitting 140, and now they're hitting 200. But it's not. Nobody has like led this offense. Again, Frazier and Cutch have been great, and IKF has been real solid. But
Yeah.
those guys cannot be leading the charge. We need Reynolds to get back to being an above average hitter. We need Cruz to get back to being a dynamic hitter, right? We need, I mean, Spencer Horowitz has done nothing. His spring training is
Right.
over now, buddy, right? It's time. Nick Gonzalez, spring training, it's over. It's, you've been back long enough, you're getting at bats. Either these guys need to start doing it immediately, or a competent GM. I mean, this team desperately needs production from left field, from third base, from from second base, from from catcher, from first base, and so there should be no shortage of being able to find somebody out there that could play one of these positions and give you consistent at bats. It's an awful, dreadful offense. Tommy Pham walked twice today, got picked off, got caught stealing or picked off, whatever you want to call it. So even when he's fortunate enough to get on, nothing happens.
He did get on twice today.
Yeah,
he got picked off once.
Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't be playing. To me, this is clearly Ben Checkton trying to build up some sort of trade value when there is zero trade value there. Just
today,
the best thing you can do is trade him with somebody and say you have to take him, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's no trade value there. Today again was his 10th anniversary in MLB. So he hits that milestone. I don't know if that's historic, Doug, but he does hit that milestone.
Yeah. I was ready for the parade, but I've decided to,
He has played less in general, but he's been playing more recently. Canario just hasn't been playing at all.
Right.
I don't really know what's up with that. But but I guess I look at it this way. Maybe he's just here to hit his 10-year mark. Pirates are doing him a solid because they're not going anywhere this season anyways. If is the case, though, well, mark's been made. So let's move on.
Yeah, his money's guaranteed. So there's no.
I don't want to talk too much trash on the guy who just
you can cut him and not be cheap, right? He still gets paid, so that we don't have to hear the only reason the Pirates got rid of him is because they're so cheap. No, you can just move on, dump him in a deal, DFA, whatever. But it's again, if not Canario, York, Cook, somebody, and it's silly that I have to say this every time. I'm not saying that they're the answer, but let's find out what they are. I don't want to go into another, off season saying, gee, I wonder if Nick York can play second base or left field or wherever. So,
yep. But I just want to add here something too. Adam Frazier now a higher weighted runs created plus than Brian Reynolds. Adam Frazier has an 86. Brian Reynolds now down to an 84. So yes, as of right now, Adam Frazier is a better hitter than Brian Reynolds, and that's the problem. And I really think that's kind of where this goes down to. I mean, when Reynolds is performing well, the offense performs just enough. Yeah. Again, the pitching is going to hold it down, and when he's not, they just don't.
Brian Reynolds that's
has to get going.
If we're not getting production out of that top part of the lineup, if it's not Cruz, Cutch, Reynolds, like Horowitz, Gonzalez. we're right. We'll score 1 or 2 runs a game, but we won't be able to get that third, the fourth, the fifth run that you need to win games. And yeah, I mean, you just cannot have this many holes in the lineup. You just can't. And that's what we have now.
Yep.
Like, I'm surprised that
Another
anybody
over 4
that,
day for Reynolds. Like,
yeah,
you just can't have
yeah,
it.
yeah. And anybody
Or
that
if you
can
are,
hit would get pitched to,
has
right?
has to be sparingly, right?
Yeah.
The anomaly. That's what Brian Reynolds is this year.
Right. Well, I
He
mean, Brian
has a
Reynolds should
hot
be
week.
batting 7th. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you're going to stay with him because he's got a track record, but he should be batting 7th. But on this team, that's crazy because his 226 average is 60 points higher than the guy we have batting 7th. Because I mean,
Right.
Hayes is terrible, and Triolo was actually hit a little here over the past week, but I don't expect much of that, that to continue. I wish it would. I wish he would tear it up. So, force their hand with Hayes and that sort of thing.
Right.
Some of this we've waited just too long on, right? It's 5 years on Hayes. It's 3 years on Triolo. They pretty much showed us who they are. They're not going to have, an offensive breakout at any time soon. I don't think.
I don't think either. But unfortunately, it's not like there's other guys awaiting to take over their positions and perform. But either way, Pirates do lose 2-1 today. So they can't take the series. They still can tie it. They do play the Cubs tomorrow for game 4. That's all I got to say. Again, though, like 6 runs, 3 games. They're doing the stuff they need to do to shut down the Cubs to win. This offense just isn't doing it.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
they've
all the
cleaned up
shout outs, all the
defensive
kudos
stuff
to this
too, right?
pitching staff. They've been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's terrible that we're not here just celebrating what great pitching they got, and that that the Pirates scored 3 runs, just to, some dumb way. Somebody hits a something that looks like it should have been an out, turns into a double, kind of, gets advanced on a wild pitch and scores on a infield single, or infield, whatever, fielder's choice or something. But now, no, we can't get enough people on base to do that. We can't, we put no pressure on the opposition, the pitching or their defense.
Right. Yep. So again, tomorrow, Pirates do play the Cubs again. They take on Colin Ray. Mitch Keller takes the mound for the Pirates. So, I mean, there's a chance they can, of course, go ahead and tie this, but the offense, you might need to wake up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hopefully there's a formidable lineup in place to try. I know Donnie has been aggressive in a lot of areas, so maybe we'll try to be aggressive to try to at least tie the series and not give us a Sunday lineup, but give us a, hey, let's try to win this game lineup.
Yeah, let's try to win this game lineup.
We'll find out.
There's not much difference between a Sunday lineup
That's
and
true.
Let's try to win this lineup.
Fair. But you and I will be back for the post game on that game as well.
Yeah,
so,
double duty.
If this sounds familiar in roughly 24 hours, we just pressed play.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
take notice of the hat we're wearing and the shirt.
Right.
It could look vaguely familiar tomorrow.
Right. So just replace Burrows every time we say Burrows and make it Mitch Keller. And
right.
You guys will get the gist.
Keller. You'll hear the AI voice.
Right.
Mitch Keller.
We are out of here. As always.
Thank you, chat.
Yes, we appreciate you all. We love you all. Go ahead, hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, do all the fun stuff. We'll be back again tomorrow to talk about the Pirates' victory, 1-0 victory. So we'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.